So, of course, somebody sniffs during the intro. Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the Free-to-Play cast, brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. I'm your host, Mike Byrne, aka Magic Man. This is episode 252, and we're recording on February 15th. You're watching it on the 16th or later. And we've got some, oh my god, why would you put that in a game? Oh my god, these things could be potentially coming out of games very soon. And oh my god, what's with this game? So to get through all of it, let's introduce our panel. First off, Jason Winter, jumping in on a moment's notice. Supposed to be his off week. So sorry about that. Thank you for jumping in. How are you, sir?
Look, I've been sick for the last 4 days. So you're going to have to deal with some sniffling and some coughing during this entire stream. And some very questionable facial hair because I've had absolutely no interest in grooming myself. So deal with it.
I think we'll just deal with it. Also on the line, Ms. Quinlan Bowers. What's up, Q?
I've got food sitting right here, just waiting to be eaten, and it's not happening.
So every time the camera cuts away, expect Q to be taking a bite.
No, I'm not doing that because it is fried and therefore crunchy. So
gotcha.
I'll be nice.
You want me to cough while you're eating? I'll just start in front of
If there's extended periods of the show where it's just a shot of me and I'm rambling, it's Jason's hacking up a lung and Q is eating, and I can't show either of them. So let's get started with the news. What a terrible idea. A terrible idea, this one. Terrible idea, this one. Q, apparently, Blizz, and Heroes of the Storm in particular, have put voice chat in a MOBA on the PTR.
Yeah, they did that. I understand the logic behind it. And, it's one of those things that on paper, it's a great idea, right? People could communicate with each other. They're teams. They're supposed to be working together. It makes it easier to work together if you're just talking instead of having to take your hand off the proper keys to type in something. Like, I understand the logic, but in practice, it just evolves in pretty much every game, a huge steaming pile of shit.
So here's the argument that you hear both ways. Q, you already kind of mentioned the first one, which is it's a team-based game. It's a lot easier to communicate. And let's set aside users who may be hard of hearing, deaf, speech issues. That's a whole nother argument on the inclusion-exclusion of individuals that have those types of issues using a voice chat. Let's just look at it globally for a second. It's a team-based game. It does help to be able to tell Jason to gank somewhere quickly rather than try to type him a message or whatever. So I don't think anybody's arguing, yeah, that makes life a little bit easier in-game. The flip side of that, Jason, is, of course, the stunning amount of toxicity in gaming in general, particularly when you talk about the MOBA genre. And the counter argument there is that we see coming out of that camp is if you don't want to use it, don't use it. Block people, don't sign into the voice chat. Those types of arguments. What do you think of both sides of that? Because I feel like if the answer is don't use it, and you have the majority of your audience deciding I ain't gonna use it, then why even put it there, would be my argument at that point. So what are your thoughts?
Then the problem becomes, you have, Mike's on my team, but he's not using voice chat. So I'm yelling in my headset, Mike, stop going there. And he's not doing any of it. So I'm like, what an idiot player. Oh, wait, he wasn't listening to me at all because he had it all muted or blocked or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, it just doesn't seem like a great idea because I like how in the Kotaku article they say that some people in the HOTS community think they will police itself to a point of squeaky clean kindness. It's like, yeah, that's good comedy right there.
Have you ever played Call of Duty with a headset on? I mean, 5 minutes and one match, you're going to understand what people are thinking about here, Q.
Here's the thing, too, is like somebody, it's been pointed out several times, particularly with minority groups and, people like that, where they'll get in and they'll be like, okay, well, I do not want to deal with the crap that's being flung at me by these people, but I'm on a team with them, and they are still communicating with each other to play the game. So I have a choice. I either deal with the crap so that I can get the communication, or I mute it so that I basically have no chance of receiving any communication, just so I don't have to hear, the shit that's being said to me. Like, it's one of those, okay, well, do I screw the entire team because I don't want to deal with this one guy that's being a complete asshole to me, or do I just mute it and just try to play?
Yeah, and it kind of leaves you in a spot, Jason, where you feel like this game you've been playing for X number of years or X time or whatever, you feel now a little bit at a disadvantage simply because you don't want to be harassed. Like an actual gameplay disadvantage now because you've muted the chat, you've banned certain people or blocked certain people, you opted not to use the chat for whatever reason to avoid harassment and all the other fun language that comes with it. And obviously that now puts your team at a slight disadvantage, even if the disadvantage is just miscommunication now. Jason says something expecting Q and I to react to what he's saying. Q reacts and I don't because I didn't hear it. Now we've got a whether or not the other team is fully using voice chat and coordinating. We haven't even gotten to that. We've gotten to there's just miscommunication in our team. So it does present challenges to just mute it or not use it, which is the easy reply to if you don't like it, don't use it. It does boost up some challenges, doesn't it? It's not a fictional, hey, not using it isn't the best option.
I mean, when I play competitive Overwatch, I play the competitive one. I always have my headset on, so I'm always available for chat if needed. And I've seen that sometimes where I've done that. I've been the person who said to someone, go here or whatever. And after a little while, I look and I'm like, oh, we only have 5 or 6 people in the voice chat. That's the one who isn't. This person isn't getting my instruction. So I'm a little annoyed by that, not to the point of, then typing in chat, you bleepity bleep, whatever. But yeah, I could see some people who are going to be maybe the toxic kind of, always going to be that kind of person, then they might get on, that's the thing. It can almost cause even more because then they'll have another reason to rip on you in text chat. Get on the mic, you bleepity bleep, lousy player or whatever. So yeah, I mean, it could just cause additional issues even in that way.
So let me pose the question to the two of you. And again, this being an opinion-based show, these are our individual opinions, Q's, mine, and Jason's. And I want to see if we line up here or not. Do you think MOBAs in general, and there are other ones that use voice chat, right? I mean, Dota 2, I believe, has used voice chat for a while now, hasn't it? It's, no big deal there, I guess.
Don't know.
I'll have to look it up, but I seem to remember Dota 2 using voice chat. Here, let's look it up right now. Does
I was actually going to do that,
Dota 2 use voice chat? How to use voice chat in-game with push-to-talk, Dota 2 Reddit post from 2015. So I'm going to assume that, yeah, they do use voice chat if people are asking how to use the push-to-talk. All right. So are there genres of games that you think should just not have voice chat, period? Or are you more on the side of, hey, every game should have voice chat if it's multiplayer. It's just going to make things easier. And if you don't want to use it, don't use it. Q.
I'm kind of torn on it because I do see both sides, but I mean, I also realize we have, voice chat software that we can set up and use ourselves, and kind of like if I'm on a team and there's a group of people that I'm playing with, I can just be like, all right, the 5 of us have a voice chat. If I'm, playing even in MMOs, if I'm playing in pugs, I don't want to be on voice chat with people. I'm playing with a pug because I'm never going to see these people again.
Yeah, and
I hope not to.
You're dead right there. You're dead right there. That for people that, if the 3 of us are going to jump into a game, we're probably not going to use the voice games chat. We'll use our Discord or TeamSpeak, Mumble, whatever the hell you and your friends use. You're going to hop on that and just use that with the group of people you know. This is more an issue for the people that are looking for the pickup groups. So to that point, are you on board with certain games not having voice chat just because of it's also, God, this opens up so many things. Like the other argument, Jason, becomes, well, wait a minute. Now you're just acknowledging how toxic a certain community is by not building voice chat in, so now the very toxic nature is robbing us of features. So where do you guys stand on this?
Okay, let's just say this. Humans are toxic.
That's true.
If you get a group of humans together, they just turn into complete assholes. It's what they do. Like humans are toxic people in general. So if you get enough of them together in one space, especially when they don't know each other and there's, all the anonymity, which we obviously have on the internet and in video games and everything else, like obviously generally you would think most of these kids like in Call of Duty and stuff that are, saying the shit they say on Xbox or whatever are not talking that way to their mamas. Generally, you'd think that. I'm sure there are some that do.
But the things they've said to my mama and that my mama did, apparently there's a lot about my mama I just don't know.
But again, I wouldn't hop into voice chat on Xbox with a bunch of kids. Like, the only people I want to be in voice chat with are the people that, I'm like, okay, I know you. I'll get into voice chat with you, my guilds or, whatever. I'm just not going to hop into voice chat. So it's one of those things that I would opt out of it. And people would probably be pissed off at me because I'm not getting the commands they want to give or whatever, but they can just suck it.
But that now diminishes your enjoyment of the game because people are giving you a little bit more of a hard time and you are at a disadvantage, right?
I mean, yeah, like I said, it's one of those weird things, but I just don't care as much in pugs. Like, I don't care. I don't care about pug people. I'm probably never going to see you again. Or I can block you if I decide I don't like you. I just don't care.
Jason, where do you stand?
So you looked up Dota 2, and I looked up the other one, and apparently League of Legends is going to add voice chat, but only for pre-made parties.
Okay, now to me that's kind of stupid.
Yeah.
Because the pre-made parties are likely already using some external voice chat.
Exactly.
Sync the development resources somewhere else.
And they said even there that until we have better tools to address abusive scenarios with strangers, we will not be implementing it outside of pre-mades. That would kind of be the point, is if you did have a way to address, to discipline people who are being asses in voice chat, then okay, sure, it should be, maybe then it could be universal. I don't know what the tool is for that, though. It's not like if they type in text, maybe there's a record of it somewhere.
That's what I was just going to say. Is voice chat being recorded then so that there is the ability to cross-check complaints against certain players, in which case we just spun off into a whole nother discussion about privacy and fun in video games. Ultimately, at the end of the day, Jason, where do you stand? Are there some genres and game types that just shouldn't have voice chat because it doesn't matter and people, that want to chat are going to use their own private stuff anyway? Or should it just be a feature that's always put in there, and if you don't like it, don't use it?
I hate to say that it shouldn't be in MOBAs because they're just so toxic, because that could apply, like I said, to any PvP game, whether it's Overwatch, like I said, Call of Duty or whatever. And I sort of think that it is almost like better from a utility standpoint for the non-pre-mades, as you said, because pre-made people are going to have their own stuff and so forth. So on from a utility standpoint, it makes better sense for people who are randoms, who are pugs. But from an abusiveness standpoint, it's terrible for that. So it's almost like technology going ahead of the proper enforcement for it.
So it sounds like you're walking on a fence here.
I'm walking rather on a fence. And, granted, I've never experienced terrible abuse or anything, but I'm a white male, so that probably helps. But I'm sure other people have had a lot worse than me. So.
If it makes you feel any better, the only thing I've ever gotten is jokingly, "Oh my God, it's a girl." So.
Humans, we are just awful.
I
got to kind of stick with things that I've said about on other shows about like Final Fantasy 14 and game features and stuff like that. I got to stick with my gut feeling on I don't like it when game features are held back or not implemented for fear of how they may be abused by the minority of abusive type players. The minority of players who engage in abusive type behaviors, I think would be a better way to word that. On that, I understand the concerns on, forcing people with issues to use a voice chat that they may not be adept at using for whatever their personal situation is, or the as your article pointed out, Q, like the outing of potential minority gamers in some way or fashion that would open them up to levels of abuse that maybe not having voice chat wouldn't open them up to. I don't like the idea of game features being cut out because, or not implemented because of the few that would abuse them. So I got to go with put voice chat in it, no matter what genre, no matter what the toxic nature, and then one, you got to give everybody, which HOTS is doing, you know, they're giving everybody the option of using this, blocking certain players and stuff, so I'm not implying that Heroes of the Storm doesn't have those features. They plan to, but give me the ability to police it or not use it. But understand that if you put me at a disadvantage in the game through that my choice not to use it, it's probably going to increase the not fun I'm having to the point that maybe I'm not going to play the game. And if Blizz is willing to take that gamble, numbers-wise, implement the feature. I don't like things being held because 2 people out of 10 may abuse it or be nasty with it. So Q, you kind of don't care because you're going to play with your group and screw everybody in their voice chat. Jason, you're kind of treading the fence, and I'm going to say
I lean more towards inclusion.
Okay.
Of including it.
I'd be interested in what big-time MOBA players, because none of the 3 of us are huge, big MOBA players, think. This story is specific to MOBAs, so let's keep the question there. Let us know what you think of voice chat in MOBAs in the comments below. Also in the news, we've got some Lootbox news. Now, one thing isn't really news. We've known about it for months now, for about 2 months now. But we kind of got an explanation why, and Jason, I'm kind of in favor of the way this is being explained.
Okay, so yeah, we've been following Hawaii State Representative Chris Lee.
Oh, no, I was talking about Dauntless. We knew that Dauntless was...
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do Dauntless first. Then we'll get to Hawaii.
All right, you know, my brain is just, it's not quite working right yet. I got decent sleep last night, but it's still a little iffy. Okay, so yeah, Dauntless was going to pull out loot boxes. They said that the chroma cores, they were called, which Mike and I never got a good version of.
No,
we played.
No, we did not.
We never got the upgraded version. 4-person group. The other 2 always got it.
Yep.
Mike and I got crap. So they took those out of the last, whatever the last beta was.
Thank you.
Back in, like, November or so.
Randomly cycled through the camera there. That was not Jason. That was cute.
At least she wasn't eating.
True.
But anyway. So their CEO, Phoenix Labs CEO Jesse Houston, had an interview with GamesIndustry.biz to talk about, you know, exactly why they did this. And he said that, you know, when they were first making the game, which I don't know how long ago that was, probably like 2013, 14, 15, somewhere along there. Yeah, loot boxes were around in a lot of free-to-play games, and they were generally accepted. Not the way things have been in the last year or so, but they weren't totally accepted everywhere, but more or less people dealt with them. So they had them in their game. They had that as a primary means of advancement. And then now, like I said, in the last year, they've seen how things have gone. So they actually decided to go ahead and make that change, actually adapting to how the market was and how people were perceiving them. And what Jesse Houston said was, we weren't feeling like we were necessarily giving folks exactly what they wanted. The more we continued to do soul searching on it and thinking through what we want players to feel when they invest with their wallet, we really wanted to feel like I had this want, so I got it.
You know, paying for exactly what you want.
This almost goes back to something that, like, conversation we had a long time ago on an old Twemo talking about Star Wars: The Old Republic, where I think Gary said, make me want to spend money with you, basically. Make me happy that I spent money with you. And that's, of course, the big issue. Big issue with loot boxes, that most of the time you get it and you're not happy you spent money. So, yeah, they decided that was a thing. And that's going to be the end of my talking, because go ahead.
Yeah, so the interesting part of that, the counterpoint to that always ends up being, well, yeah, saying that, Q, is very good for the players, right? It seems like you're reaching out to the players, you're doing what they want, you're taking away the loot boxes, you get this good, warm feeling with the players, but then invariably the other side of that equation, your investors, your stockholders, whatever the case may be, whether you're a private or public company, how do they feel about what is clearly a money-making opportunity and historically shown to be very, very profitable? How do they feel? Because at the end of the day, it may not necessarily be the developer who always has the final say in things like this. Houston did address that too, Q, and the attitude might be noble, but it runs afoul of investors who care less about quality, more about quantity. Houston said that Phoenix Labs financial backers actually supported the company's decision to do this. He said he was actually getting more questions from investors about gameplay elements, such as favorite weapons, than on monetization. So it sounds like, at least publicly, Dauntless and the team at Phoenix Labs have kind of balanced both sides of the scales. Do you think maybe part of that was investors looking at the recent loot box backlash and saying, you know what, hey, we're not going to push this right now?
I mean, probably, because so at the end of the day, right, all you really want is the player's money. How you get it, like whichever form works best. Like I'm not really gonna give you my money for a loot box when I can just spend $15 on the mount I specifically know I want. Right. And that's the way a lot of players are starting to be. Like, it was kind of fun initially for a lot of people, I think, with the whole, okay, I get to open this and there's a surprise in every package. But
yeah, and people familiar with trading card games could just kind of, initially, we all just kind of looked at it as like, oh, that's, like buying a card pack. Okay, yeah, whatever. That's kind of cool.
But what happens with the trade? One, you can trade your cards in trading card games. Like, there's that. So, if you don't have something, you can, you can trade 3 or 4 of your cards to get, the better card, whatever. Or you can just go and buy the card you want for whatever, price point is set for that particular card. Like, there's other ways for people to fill out their cards. With these loot boxes, most of the time there's not really necessarily a lot of the trade. I mean, we do have it in the secret world where with the caches, we can turn around and trade those items. If we don't get the stuff that we want, we can trade it to somebody else.
You can sell it on the auction house too, can't you?
Right. Yeah. So there's the option to get those particular things. Like, and of course, there's always the stuff that you're gonna keep because it's consumables. But as far as like a lot of them, it's like you get the option of either keeping it or turning it into something to to use and spend somewhere else, but not necessarily being able to get the item that you actually want. So. I mean, yeah, for me, like, the fun of opening loot boxes was over really early once I realized that
the honeymoon was over.
Yeah, because it's a little fun. It's like, ooh, a surprise. And then you're like,
well, that's the whole point.
Same surprise every time. So
I like opening loot boxes when they're free.
Yeah.
Well,
hey, you know what?
There you go.
Kudos to Dauntless. I mean, we knew they were going to do this. I like how they came out and said a little more about it, even though it was a month or so later. I hope that everything is honest and 100% upfront with the Houston talking about how the investors felt. Because if they truly felt that way, then that's interesting to me, that the investors are more concerned about what are you doing with the game to make people want to play it longer, to, that aspect of we can make money if you can get a lot of players in here staying in here. So what are you doing to the game to get a lot of players and playing and a lot of people staying in here? I hope that's 100% factually correct, and that's the stance they took, because that's pretty cool to hear that from the developers and the people financing things. Jason, you look like you want to jump in on that thought.
No, I didn't really.
Oh, okay. It looked like you were like itching to say something there.
No, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Also on Lootbox news, our favorite Hawaiian House representative, state representative, Hawaii State Representative, Chris Lee, still fighting the good fight. Chris, we appreciate it. We have reached out a couple of weeks ago to Chris Lee's offices. We would love to sit down and chat with Chris. Unfortunately, we still have not heard anything back. Hopefully we can keep plugging away at that and get a chance to talk. But there's a number of House and Senate bills in the works from State Representative Lee. Huh, Jason?
Yeah, so there's 2 pairs of bills, identical versions in the House and Senate. So really only 4 bills total, but really only 2 different ones.
Now we should be clear that these are Hawaii bills. We're not talking House and Representatives for nationwide, correct?
We could talk about that later if you like.
Okay, just want to make sure
Anyway.
we segregate so everybody knows what we're talking about. These are Hawaii proposed bills for state laws, correct?
Sure. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And they both go into like the nature of loot boxes, their addictiveness, and so on and so forth. The first one, its key purpose is that its key point is it says the purpose of this act is to prohibit the sale of video games that contain a system of further purchasing a randomized reward or a virtual item that can be redeemed to directly or indirectly receive a randomized reward to customers under 21 years of age. So basically it says right there, can't sell a game with loot boxes to someone under 21.
Right, so like you can't get in the United States, you're not supposed to be able to get into a rated R movie if you're under 17 without an adult. And this would be the same thing, except if it has this loot system, randomized reward, or virtual item that can be redeemed, for a virtual reward, can't
got
sell
a bad
it.
throat now, is it you or me?
Yeah, I burped. Excuse me.
Okay.
Can't be rewarded or can't be bought by consumers under 21. Can we stop on that one for a second? Because this one seemed a bit odd to me, and we'll talk about our feelings on the law in general. I just wanted to interject. Do we know why 21 was chosen? I mean, given the connotation of loot boxes with gambling, I would have expected 18 to be any age that they put on it, given that that's, how old you have to be to pull a lever at a casino.
It might depend, because there was a casino when I lived in Minnesota that had a 21 limit on it. So maybe it's a state thing. Maybe it's not national.
A lot of casinos do have a 21 limit because of the alcohol.
Oh, right.
Right, when they come around and you're sitting at the slot machine.
Right, so if you're on the floor.
Here's minimum gambling ages. Hawaii has no gambling, according to this website. Well, no wonder they're pissed. No wonder Hawaii's pissed. Oh, no, actually, yeah, you're right. I apologize. I was using my own state laws in conjunction with this. Actually, my own state is 21 too, so I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about on this one.
I think you're thinking maybe like lotto tickets and stuff like that.
Let me look up Vegas. Let me look up Vegas.
Active gambling's 21.
Nevada's 21. Well, there's a lot of states with 18, but mine isn't one of them, so I'm not sure why my brain went to, wait, you only have to be 18. Okay, I'm just stupid. 21 makes sense in the context of the law then. Go ahead.
Next one?
Well, let's get your opinions on how do you think, I don't think it's ever going to pass, but I also don't think it's intended to pass. I don't think that's the intent here, and I think, Jason, you speculated on that a little bit. But if this were a law, would this be one, or almost becoming a law, would this be one that you would be okay with, Jason?
I think I prefer other methods, frankly, than just outright banning. Now, that said, on the other hand, as I speculate, it would probably mean instead that game companies would adjust their games so as not to put loot boxes in, so as not to lose that 13 to 20 demographic. So on the one hand, I can, if it did pass, I wouldn't be totally against it, because I think that something else would happen to make those games palatable. But it's not the law I would necessarily go for.
Q?
So I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking it might almost actually have more to do with the fact that a lot of, the kids under that age group are playing a lot of mobile games and stuff. But the thing is you're not really selling mobile games for the most part. They're free. So, and
that's an interesting question that Jason posed. While you can talk about this in the terms of Overwatch and Star Wars Battlefront and box games that you had to, what do you do about free-to-play games and mobile games that are free? You're absolutely right, Q.
Because the big issue there, right, that people have been having is parents letting their kids play a game on their iPhone or whatever, and the kid accidentally, charges a couple $100 to their parents' credit card for, keys to unlock things and whatever else. So, yeah, I'm not really sure the effect this would have on actually just getting rid of loot boxes and anything other than, AAA pay-to-play games.
Yeah, I don't know if I can support this one. As much as I love what State Representative Lee is trying to do here and fighting the good fight and a fight that's been a long time coming, I don't think I would support and again, it really doesn't matter since I'm not a resident of Hawaii. I really wouldn't have a say in this one way or the other anyway. I don't know if I can support this one. In fact, if I had to make a gut check right now on it, I'd say no. Because this is, to me, it's not even like a Hey, violent content, 17 or below, nudity, NC-17, strong sexual situations, and smoking cigarettes and alcohol. I mean, it's a video game. Yeah, there's an element that... Here's the other thing. Technically, by all legal definitions, a loot box isn't gambling, but now you're putting the gambling age on it. I can't get behind this one. I don't like this. And I think Jason, to your point, I do like this in the respect of video game companies seeing the types of potential legislation they could be up against if they don't check themselves. They do not want to lose the ability to sell to an under 21 demographic without a parent. They don't want that. And if these are the types of laws being proposed, maybe some self-regulation will start to creep in. And I like it for that. I don't like the law itself and its age, Jason.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. That's probably its main purpose.
So we'll have to keep an eye on it. We have another House and Senate bill, too, that has a slightly different take on this that Representative Lee is proposing.
So this one says, the purpose of this act is to establish certain disclosure requirements for publishers of video games that contain a system to purchase a randomized reward or virtual item that can be redeemed and directly or indirectly converted into a randomized reward. And the thing that it would be then is that they would have to bear a prominent, easily legible, bright red label on its packaging, which reads, warning, contains in-game purchases and gambling-like mechanisms which may be harmful or addictive. Or if it's a digitally download thing, it has to have that somewhere on the website. Not just somewhere, but it has to be easily legible, prominently disclosed, etc. So, big red label. There is your adult content warning or something.
Right. How do you feel about this one, Q?
Hilariously, it just makes me think of cigarette packs with the warning may cause cancer, or death, or whichever pack you have.
If you be pregnant, don't be smoking.
So I was thinking about it because it kind of tied into the previous bill. The one thing that has always been kind of striking about video games, video game companies, the stores that sell them, and everything else, like say the adult only rating, right? Mm-hmm. You can get an adult only rating on a game. It's, and still technically legally sell it.
Yep.
But most stores are like, we're not putting that on our shelves.
Yeah.
So what was it? What game did they give an adult only rating to that they had to go back and South Park? I think they had to go back and change a bunch of stuff. There was something they had to go back and change.
There was the hot coffee thing in the Grand Theft Auto.
Well,
right, but I'm thinking way more recently.
Oh, okay.
Like there was something where it was like, no, we can't have an adult only rating. We're gonna have to go change the stuff. I know they did it with South Park for whatever Australia's version of the adult only rating was, and Matt and Trey went in and just made still frames and kind of described what should have happened here, kind of deal, to get around it. But there's been a couple of games, in the past, say 5-6 years that, they've gone back and completely wiped stuff out of it to avoid that adult only rating, because not only, it could technically be sold and you could sell it online, sure, but they wanted it on store shelves. So if this ended up being the same way, right, where the stores look at it and go, we're not going to even put this on our shelves because it's got this big red label on it that means nobody's going to buy it, or it might get us in trouble or something, then that would kind of stop the developers from making it.
I don't think it was South Park. I think South Park, the creators were asked about their concerns with censorship to get their 18 rating, and
no, they censored one for Australia.
Oh, okay. So outside the U.S.
Right,
gotcha.
Right. They went in, but they did ask them too. I can't remember who it was in the U.S. I know there have been companies in the U.S. recently. God, this lighting is just awful. It's driving me crazy.
So are you okay with this one? If it were law tomorrow, would you be okay with it?
I mean, I'm okay with that kind of information being put on stuff and being as clear as possible, because I know, having just been in stores with parents who apparently don't understand how rating systems work for video games, Like I have a friend who has a 10-year-old, and I had to explain to her that Saints Row is not appropriate for her child. And this is why. The kid owned the game. And I'm standing there in front of him going, this is one of my favorite games in the entire world, but your son really should not be playing it right now. And she's going, well, why? And I'm like, do you see this on the box? So I'm all for big red clear letters so parents actually understand what they're getting.
Jason?
I'd like to think that big red letters aren't necessary. That something like the ESRB and all the labels and the Surgeon General warning is enough. But Q's probably right, and that people probably need that big hammer over the head here. This is what's in here, sort of thing. So I'd be more or less okay with this.
So here's I hate government involvement when there doesn't need to be government involvement, right? I'm just generally opposed to the government getting involved in every single little thing of somebody's life. However, to me, the video game industry has also proven that if you don't get involved as a government, they will do whatever they want at any given time. And so again, while I hate the idea of this type of law having to be even considered as a law, I would definitely be more in favor of this one than the 21 years of age one. Absolutely. Again, I would hope that it doesn't come to it, but I think, like, if you're a video game developer or publisher and you're looking at putting bright red stickers on your shit or not being able to sell to 21-year-olds, and those are the types of things being proposed, then maybe you have the video game industry change or add what it's doing, like the ESRB, right? The ESRB, independent body, not started by the federal government, but by the government starting to become involved and saying, regulate it or we will. And they say, okay, well, we'll do this. I like that idea of this stuff. I don't necessarily like either of these laws, but I do like what they're trying to force the game industry to do. I'd rather they don't have to become laws, though. That's kind of my take on it. I'd be okay with the second one more than I would the first one, but ultimately I'd like to have neither.
I like how you said the video game industry will do whatever it can unless someone tries to stop it. Just replace video game with any.
Right, yeah, right. True. So we'll keep an eye on it, and if we can talk to representatively, we definitely will bring you all of that. Now, finishing up today, we expected to have Troy on today's show, who did the Dead Maze first look that was posted on the site, the little zombie 2D kind of survival crafty game. Since he's not here to give us a more in-depth review, did you guys get a chance to take the first look, take a look at the first look, play it at all, and just give some general thoughts? And the next time we have Troy on, we'll circle back to Dead Maze and let him talk a little bit in depth about it. Go ahead, Q.
I did actually sit and watch this first look for once. So I've downloaded the game. I was planning on trying it out because I love zombies, but I do kind of hate the standard survival zombie, just kill everybody as much as you can. Like, I like the actual, building communities aspects and stuff, so it seemed really cute. But he got to one part where I'm just like, no, there's a problem there. So this is a game where you're supposed to be, right, collecting items and crafting things and building your settlement and all of this, but you have fuck all for inventory.
So it's one of Jason's favorite games.
Oh, it gets worse. Not only do you have a limited inventory, shit don't stack. So you're going to be making a lot of trips back to your humble little house to drop stuff off because you got, like, I don't know, maybe 20 inventory slots and then 6 slots for, like, once you convert the items, and the items that you convert are what you use to craft. So every time you fill up that 6, you're going to have to go back to your house to drop it off so you can go out and get more stuff.
I would assume
I can't handle that.
I'm assuming maybe later you can craft a bigger bag. As somebody that's playing a lot of Dead Maze, let us know in the comments below. I mean, I would think that has to change.
But the not stacking thing is the bigger issue for me. Yeah. Like, because you can have a smaller bag space if your stuff stacks, but if your stuff doesn't stack, you're just your bag is filling.
So Q,
like
you seem generally to like the idea of the game, charmed by its look a little bit, but it's got some issues.
Yes, that's really the only issue I saw.
Cool.
Amazingly, that's pretty much it. The rest of it seems really, like a really fun little game.
Cool.
And not as depressing as other zombie games.
Jason, what's your take on it?
Well, I'm glad I'm not the one who brought it up this time first. Though it is actually funny that I was kind of watching it and like slow and like just kind of watching it in the background, listening, just listening to Troy's droning or whatever, not really paying attention to it. But he's got that voice. He's got that nice voice. That nice voice. Then I actually would put on my headset to listen for real. Very first thing is he's complaining about the inventory. But yeah, I mean, I'm not into zombie games. I'm into survival as much. So it looked kind of neat, kind of cute, but probably not something I would spend a whole lot of time with, especially if it does have crappy inventory.
Yeah, and I'm kind of with Jason on this one. So Q can take the thumbs up road here. I'm going to give it personally a thumbs down. It's just not my. It's just
slightly diagonal.
It's just not my type of game. Even if it was cutting edge 2018 graphics, this just generally isn't my type of game. When next time Troy is on, we'll definitely get him to give a little more in depth since he did spend quite a bit of time with it. But until then, let's slide over to the weekly bombs. Jason, you're up.
I'm going to give a dub bomb. In fact, I'm going to drop a knowledge bomb
on
you guys. So, I mean, we've all heard of Arm & Hammer, the brand.
Of course.
Yeah. And you probably know that there's a guy, actually, Armand Hammer. Armand. A-R-M-A-N-D.
I did not.
And I thought he actually just owned the company, like he founded it. Oh, you didn't even know that?
No.
No. Well, it turns out he didn't own the company. It was actually created like 30 years before he was born. But people asked him about it so much and thought he was connected that he did buy it.
Interesting.
So I'm going to give a dub bomb to Arm & Hammer for that crazy bit of knowledge I just learned. And also, I've tried these out the past few months, some of their brands. The deodorant is good. I don't care as much for their toothpaste, though. So a bit of an dub bomb to the deodorant, A bomb to the toothpaste.
And you are always learning when you watch the free-to-play cast. Go ahead, Q.
So on the Arm & Hammer thing, I love their cat litter deodorant stuff. So.
Oh, now we're just reviewing Arm & Hammer products.
Yes. So I'm going to give an A bomb to Troy for not being here, so I can call him Nancy. Which you need to watch the first look to get that. But I wanted to call him Nancy through the whole show. And I'm going to give a mixed A-bomb to bomb to Secret World because they actually showed us something in the way of content. It's just unfortunately still not story content. It's the agent thing, which is like the followers in WoW garrisons, which is something I'll definitely tool around with and play with. It was actually my favorite part of WoW. So
yeah, Jason was saying he liked those kinds of systems when they're done well too.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see how that works, but it's still not story content.
And you still have no clue when it's coming, right?
I think it's supposed to be sometime later this month, actually.
Oh, there you go.
Like
nice.
Within a month, I think, very soon. Yeah.
Very cool. I'm going to give a dub bomb to Nexon for having a good financial quarter. Again, a record-setting quarter for them. But as good as that is for them, great. I gotta give them a dub bomb for their sidestep of the topic of lawbreakers, particularly during an investor's call, Jason, where one investor or stockholder, shareholder, whatever, brought up the fact of, hey, lawbreakers going away. And it was just kind of sidestepped. Like, nobody rebutted, hey, the game's not going away. Hey, we're still working on some things. Hey, we have a plan for marketing. Or, yeah, it is going away. They just totally ignored that he had the stockholder had said that, huh?
It's been wild starred, as we call it now.
Yeah.
They don't mention it in their financial reports at all.
It has definitely been wild starred. Now, I want to find... Where is that damn article? Oh, there it is. Okay, because I want to give credit for, because this was not us that found out about the investors call. It was MMOs.com, where CEO Owen Mahoney doesn't correct someone who says lawbreakers would be shutting down. So, credit to MMOs.com. From the viewers, Elusive X Treasure comments on the site, dub bomb to my pet newbies in Rift. Aren't they cute? I created a new character, I know, shocker, and convinced the hubby to try Bard. It's about damn time. And we set to running dungeons. Along the way, we befriended a baby tank and his little DPS buddy. We've been running with them for the past few days, and it's so nice to be able to count on 4 out of the 5 party members. You rock, newbies. So congrats, Elusive. Nice, got some new people to roll with. Go ahead, Jason.
Pixelated Donkey says, A-bomb to Guild Wars 2 for loot. At level 80, getting a couple of green or blue pieces after spending 10 minutes fighting a champion or elite is BS. You always get at least a rare, but anyway. There we go. Okay, even rare equipment at that point is useless. Instead, just drop me materials for crafting and or cash, and occasionally an exotic item. My character is as high on leveling as I care to take him, so a huge amount of XP and karma means nothing. I'd rather have something I could actually use. Last 4 days, about 50 hours total. Yeah, I'm at home with nothing to do a lot now.
Wow.
Dang. I did the POF story, Path of Fire story, and a lot of events and boss fights. All I got for it is a couple of exotics I can't use and a bunch of useless XP. I want about 10 gold. Hooray, I can buy a candy.
Damn. 50 hours in 4 days. You've been burning the MMO midnight oils. Whew. Go ahead, Q.
Maybe you should give Jason the shorter ones because he really sounds like he's having problems
I'm
getting
gonna try
through it.
Well, he gave me the Guild Wars 2 one. I didn't mind that so much.
Blame Fiasco. A-bomb to Black Desert Online's autopathing. I'm always running into walls,
God, this is so
buildings, or even worse, mobs. Oh, bad autopathing is the worst. BDO makes a great transitionary game for me when I'm waiting for one of my mains to get a big update, but it's things like that that really annoy me. I use wagons, but those things are buggy as hell and jump all over the place, and now I've just got that in my head. When going through tight quarters, I feel like I've been given this A-bomb before, but oh well.
And Blaine, you are dead on. Dead on. Autopathing is the worst. Bits Turn Bite. Hello, MMO Bomb. Just wanted to say, love the free-to-play cast. Thank you, and all that you guys do. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. I have a question for you guys about pay-to-win and your thoughts. The reason I'm asking is another YouTube channel I watch has brought some concerning question about games like Crowfall and how it will be pay-to-win. My question is, if a game has some kind of subscription model, any model in it at all, would that be considered a subscription-based game? For games that call themselves free-to-play, are they really free-to-play? And then Bits Turn Bite did continue talking a little more about Crowfall in particular again. I edited that out, 1 for time, and 2 because Crowfall isn't a free-to-play game, and none of us are terribly, terribly familiar with Crowfall. It's just not one that any of the 3 of us have picked up. So I didn't want to get bogged down in a debate over Crowfall not being experienced in it. So the question stands, Jason, if a game has any kind of subscription model in it at all, optional subscription, mandatory subscription, obviously, yeah, it is buy to play. But does that make it, is the game really free to play if there's some type of subscription option to you, Jason?
Not if it's optional, I don't think.
Really? Okay.
I mean, it depends on how optional it is. Like Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Yeah, but generally, I mean, they do include experience buffs and things like that definitely
and all your
enhance.
hot bars.
Yeah. Well, and Crowfall, apparently, according to our commenter, it was being able to level up, I believe, 2 skills instead of 1 at the same time, which kind of gives you an edge over some timing-based mechanics in that game, and I get it. To me, I think if a game has a subscription, I would much rather pay the subscription. The only time I play free-to-play games and don't pay the subscription is when it really just does not benefit me in any way too. Like the rewards offered by it aren't helpful at all. So in that regards, I would say that yes, a game that offers a subscription could still be free to play in my book, and considered free to play and totally be free to play in my head. Personally, I usually just end up paying the subscriptions and calling it a day. Q, your thoughts?
I mean, I think the actual technical term for it for those games is hybrid.
Yeah.
So they're technically not free to play. They're hybrids. But I mean, you can play them free like right now because there's nothing going on in Secret World. I'm not paying, for the patron status.
Right.
whatever the sub is called. I'm not paying for it. I'm also not really playing it that much because by not paying for it, it limits things like me being able to hop around the map easily to get to places where I need to go, because then I have to spend anima shards in there and I need those for other things. So if I'm not paying, I'm really not playing kind of deal, because it's just so at that point, yeah, I mean, for me, Secret World's not really a free-to-play game, because I need to pay the sub to have the shards to be able to jump all over the map or, whatever it is I'm doing. For other people, it may be perfect. They may be totally fine without that, because the way they play, they're just like, fine, I'll just run it.
So I think everybody kind of gave the same conclusion answer for you, Bits Turnbite, that yes, they could be really free to play, but there's the caveat of what exactly does their subscription entail and how required is it? Some of the stuff you describe on Crowfall in your comments, if true, I might not say that one could really be considered free to play, but again, I don't know a ton about Crowfall, so I'll reserve judgment. Q, why don't you take the next one so I can give Jason the short one at the end?
Okay. Reverend Namtub, A-Bomb to Monster Hunter World and your time limit
Blasphemy!
Horizon. I know, you're going to be lynched now, dude, because the internet's just not going to buy this. And your time-limited Horizon Zero Dawn Watcher Palico Armor Quest thing. That was a lot of words. The simple solution would have been for me to buy the game before that quest ended. But hey, I'm a bum, and I'm not buying until it's like $20 or something. A-Bomb to me for being a bum. Monster Hunter World looks and sounds cool.
All right.
Okay, well, he saved himself.
Reverend, yeah, you kind of clarified a little bit, and it wasn't the game itself. It was this... Okay, all right. We're still friends. We're still friends. Go ahead and finish up the bombs, Jason.
Andrew Mancine says, "Hey, give the game Wild Busters a chance. It looks like it's going to fill that Marvel Heroes void."
You mean that game that was recently taken off Steam because Valve got pissed at Incel Games?
That one.
Doing their own reviews, allegedly doing their own reviews. Actually, I'm not familiar with the game at all, so maybe it does fit that little niche. I have no idea. Question of the week last week: could a crowdfunding campaign actually succeed at what the Marvel Heroes Revival campaign was trying to do? That campaign has since been taken down or ended. We're not sure under the circumstances or who took it down. But on its surface, could a crowdfunding campaign succeed at what that campaign was trying to do? Resurrect a game that had been previously shut down. Deathlock says, question of the week, crowdfunding a game? Hells no. To me, they seem like a scam to rule all scams. I mean, just look at Star Citizen. I don't think that game will come out anytime soon. Then people actually spend money on ships that they made for the game that their PC may not be able to handle. Very few games have been successful through the crowdfunding process. In all, I don't trust it. I don't trust it, at least with games. I've crowdfunded a web series or two in the past, mainly because I like them. So Deathlock going on the no side of that category. Go ahead, Q.
Deathlock's my new friend, by the way, because I've been saying that about Star Citizen forever.
You and a lot of people.
Reverend Namtub again. For the question of the week, I think a fundraiser can bring a game back, but I think it'd happen like a Kickstarter project that isn't completely funded by us normal backers. Rather, the project gets published by a publisher who only agrees to publish the game after a specific funding goal is achieved. Though Disney may not need the money since they're already conquering the world like a food coma after this good Super Bowl party, a smaller company that owns a near-extinct IP might more enthusiastically try to work a deal with a passionate player base that will pay good money to bring the game back. But if the fundraising really works like a Kickstarter, it means that the game will never get re-released because Kickstarter.
Interesting. And that's an interesting take on it, too. And we've seen some very, very established people, put their own Kickstarters in to try and start their own game and end up not getting crowdfunded at all because based on the interest, some company came in and said, we'll do the publishing for you. Now you don't need that Kickstarter. And we've seen a little mix of both where they get crowdfunded and picked up by a publisher. Interesting take on it.
My first thought on that was something like the Shenmue.
Shenmue!
Shenmue.
Shenmue 3. Yeah, go ahead, Jason.
Anyway, Terranova667 says, question of the week, to use crowdfunding to save a game I guess could be done if someone or a group that had many, many years in the games industry that knew the ins and outs were to be behind it. But even then, it's just not the cost factor of acquiring the IP, source code assets, etc., but the legality of who owns what. It's not a simple process, and this is even without third parties involved.
Yeah, it definitely is a super, super complex thing. And I think, honestly, in crowdfunding, that's the one thing, the very first thing most people, gamers in particular, look for, right, Jason? When you see a campaign about any game, the first thing you want to know if it's a game you're interested in, whether it's new, a resurrected IP, is who's behind the campaign. Is this, does it have a pedigree of, you know, oh, Richard Garriott's involved. Oh, okay, yeah, well, I like Ultima, and I know what he does, and he would do well with this type of project. So I think that's a very fair point, Terry.
Who am I giving my money to?
Yeah. Squeezy, question of the week says, it's impossible for a crowdfund to save any dying game. If the game is dying, that doesn't mean that the IP is also dying, and unless the company behind the game is being forced to shut down, they would never sell that IP because it can be used to create different games to attract its fans. Moreover, if the company decides to sell their IP, there is absolutely no way for a crowdfunded company to compete against the titans in the industry. An IP is not something you can buy just because you have the money. Which does lead to the interesting debate, too, that if whatever the IP is, a resurrected IP, yeah, if you got enough people on crowdfunding that were interested in it, then there's probably a big company or two out there with deeper pockets that would at least mildly be interested. Now, on the Marvel Heroes side, we don't know exactly how that works because different, like Gazillion owns the source code, I believe, but then Marvel and Disney own the assets, as far as the use of the characters, and so could Gazillion feasibly sell one item and not the others? To whose is it? Terra Nova's point. It does get really super complicated and expensive because you do have third parties involved. So thank you all for your feedback on that one. Your question of the week this week, Q wrote a top 5 coolest riffs in mount, which was going to be a top 5 coolest mounts in general. But then when the three of us were compiling it and ended up with like a dozen from Rift, we said, let's just do one on Rift. So we want to know what's your favorite mount in MMOs and why, and make sure you link us a pic so we can show some of those off on next week's show. What's so funny?
We're both laughing at you, Mike.
Why? What'd I do?
Top 5 coolest riffs in mount.
Oh, is that what I said? Well, I deserve to be laughed at then. Top 5 coolest mounts in Rift. Let's go with that.
Okay, that's
my
better.
apologies to Scott Hartzman and the team at Tryon Worlds. So we want to know what's your favorite MMO mount and why. And not like us a picture. Go ahead and link us a picture so we can show them off. Put them in the comments below. Make sure while you're there you put your weekly bomb in there. Dub bomb for something good, A bomb for something bad. And of course, give us any questions you have for the panel. Until next week, Q, where can everybody find you?
Hanging out on Twitter at Quinlan.
Woot. Jason?
On Twitter at Winter Informal, and once my throat is recovered, streaming at twitch.tv/JasonWinter.
I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me personally on Twitter at magicman1 right there, MAGICKMANN1. But more importantly, while you're there, make sure you're following at MMO Bomb so you get the tweets for the giveaways, first looks, free-to-play casts, articles, editorials, previews, interviews, and more right to your Twitter feed. Until next week, gang, stay safe. We'll see you on the servers.